Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you to a third session of our ongoing psychosocial webinar series. Today, we turn our focus to a profoundly impactful aspect of education, that is integrating social emotional learning. We also call it SEL into our school culture. Schools are far more than places of academic instructions. We all know that. They are at their core spaces where young minds are shaped, where students learn not just to read and calculate, but to understand themselves, empathize with others, and navigate life's challenges and resilience and emotional intelligence, so as to say. In today's session, we aim to explore what SEL is and how it contributes not just to emotional well being, but to academic success and lifelong growth. The role of SEL in creating nurturing school environments that allow every student to thrive. Shrestha, I hope I'm pronouncing it. Shrestha, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Associate Director, whose strategic leadership has empowered many educators to embed SEL into their frameworks. Then Mr. Avichal Patsik, Miss Venu Dodavarapu, and Miss Tanya. I'm sorry if I have not pronounced your surnames okay. You all can always do the needful. All of whom are experienced content or we can say context facilitators. Their work on the ground with students and educators offers invaluable insights into how SEL can be made real, relevant, and resonant within school communities. We are grateful for the presence here today and look forward to an enriching exchange of ideas, experiences, and inspiration. Let us begin this session with open minds and committed hearts, ready to reimagine our school cultures as nurturing grounds for the holistic development of every child. And of course, I always have one say that be an active participant. Try to put it on the chat, the queries you have, the thoughts you have, the responses that you want. And we would definitely try to take them as we move around or as we move along. Over to you, ma'am Pallavi, to take the session forward. Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You've already set the context. You've done half my work, which I had actually prepared. But thank you so much. And I actually don't have much to say. I'm looking at the participant list. We're about 997. I think it's going to be 1,000 in like less than a minute.
And just
Yeah,
to
1,000.
add, we can't have more than 1,000 because that's the maximum that
Limit.
WebEx can have. And there are times when our own colleagues have to move out to give way to a few more who can join in. So that has always been the way. But we would definitely be putting it on our YouTube channel, the CBSE headquarters YouTube channel. I'll ask my colleagues to just put that link also on the chat so the others can also subscribe to it. And if anybody wants to revisit, or if the friends and colleagues and others have missed out on this session, they can always go back and have a viewership, I should say, or go through the entire session on the YouTube of CBSE. Fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wonderful, ma'am. I think wanted to express my gratitude, our gratitude from the team, and gratitude to the teachers, to the CBSE teachers who are working day and night in different parts of the country. I was looking at the chat. There are people joining it from all parts of the country, all places. Just a moment of appreciation and welcoming all of you today. It's middle of the week, middle of the day almost. And I know it's not easy. I know that you all already have a lot on your shoulders. So, want to take a moment of pause and reflection for this 1 hour. Would invite you all to, like ma'am said, with open mind, uh, into a journey of what social emotional learning is. It's a journey that we all, I mean, it's not a concept that we can only intellectually try to grab. It's a concept that we experience. It's a concept that we all have experienced throughout our lives. It's not something new. So, in terms of expertise, I think you all are as much of an experts as we are. And just opening the floor to appreciate ourselves in the work that we do in our school, in our life, who we are and who do we represent. With that, I want to pass on to Tanya, who would start us off, who is also a trauma based counselor, and she would just start us off with the next part of the session. Over to you, Tanya.
Thank you. Thank you, Pallavi. Just a sound check. I hope I'm audible. Okay, great. So, as we move forward, let's do a quick check in. Why do we do check in? Check in is just a moment of us pausing, checking into our own bodies, and getting ourselves present to the space that we are part of. Since we are joining from a lot of different places, we are also joining virtually. This 10 minutes doing that. But chat is definitely one of the place which is accessible to all, I'm sure. So would encourage you to put your responses there. So before I even ask you the check-in question, I just want you to take a small pause for 10 seconds and just ask yourself, what am I feeling? Just notice the sensations in your body, any emotion that you're sitting with, anything that happened since morning that's keeping you up, maybe. So just take a moment of pause for a few seconds and notice what you're feeling. So you don't have to share it right away. Thank you for putting your response. This is not what you may have to share. I'll just tell you the question to which you have to respond. But right now, you are checking in with your own self and not sharing it yet. So, as you notice what you're feeling, and if you were to tell that feeling in a line of a lyric, you have to share exactly what you're feeling, but just share the metaphor of the lyrics of a song so that it gets us a glimpse of where you are, what you're feeling, what are you sitting with. And I see them coming in the chat. Beautiful. So let's soak that in. हंसते हंसते कट जाए रास्ते, जिंदगी एक सफर, जीवन चलने का नाम. Wow. The speed at which creative check-in, because it's slightly less risky. Yeah, if I were to ask you, what are you feeling? Tell me your feeling immediately. It might be triggering in some way. So using it through something, maybe a metaphor, helps us ease in and also invite us to wear our creative hats. That makes us feel safer to share. Yeah, great. So there are a lot of beautiful responses, a lot of songs, the lyrics of the song that I can see that are telling us about where you are, how you're feeling, what are you sitting with. Glimpses of it at least. Great. Thank you for participating in the check-in question. So to get us moving forward, we now will be engaging in a small reflective exercise. And you can keep these responses coming. So if you, at any point of time, you feel like sharing what you're feeling, feel free to use this metaphor of lyrics and put it in the chat box. So for this reflective piece of exercise that we will be engaging in for the next 10 minutes again, I would invite you to imagine an adult or maybe an individual in your life going back to the timeline, and from that timeline imagine one individual and an adult or anybody in your life whom you feel have seemed to have made a significant difference. Maybe they were someone who really supported, helped you navigate certain situation which you otherwise wouldn't have been able to do it by yourself, maybe. Yeah, so just imagine that one individual or an adult from the timeline of the past. You don't have to share the name of that person. So just sit with it for now. Yeah, we are so used to responding immediately. So first just imagine that person. Take a moment. Imagine that one individual, significant one, who seemed to have played a huge role in making a difference, in helping you navigate your life, maybe a situation you were in. And now, as you remember that person, an individual, maybe I can see some people are saying my husband, my mom, my mother. Great. So you don't necessarily have to share the relationship you share with them or their name, but what you really have to share is what were some of these acts, strengths, qualities that you witnessed them demonstrating that really helped you. I'll just repeat that. Role model, leadership, discipline, patience, care, compassion, hard work. So, what were some of these qualities that they demonstrated that helped you? What did they do to make you feel supported in that moment or in that particular situation? Advice, courage, patience, love, care. Wow. Speed of the responses is just shooting. Respect, hard work, listened, absolutely, encouraged, accepted me, trusted me. Hmm. Hmm. Great. And now you have to think, how did it make you feel? So, whatever they did, yeah? So, they did all of this. They listened, encouraged, forgave, were really confident, trusted, caring, compassionate. What did it make you feel about yourself? So, for example, if this adult hypothetically was my teacher, for example, and she heard me, and that was the quality that she demonstrated. She listened, she heard. What did it make me feel about myself when that was done? So now it's not about the other person anymore. It's about you. So remembering that individual's presence in your life, what did it make you feel, think, believe about yourself? Can we have that response in the chat? So, what did it make you feel, think, believe about yourself? What did it do to you? Valued, confident, strong enough to have these qualities? Yes, absolutely. I may not be able to read all the responses because the speed is faster than I can read. So I'm just picking up the words that I can see in the chat box. So please excuse me and forgive me for not reading your all responses. But I'm feeling all your presence and spirit. Believed in myself. Yes, made me think about myself. Great. So, this is exactly what is the starting point of any social emotional journey. Yeah. So, when we are saying, when we are using these big, heavy words, social emotional learning is nothing but it's just a journey that starts with recognizing or it's a journey that helps me come closer to myself. Yeah. And social emotional learning is a journey that starts with self, and that self really helps me navigate through the life challenges, situations, and there it becomes more complex. Yeah. When it comes to, say, an adverse situation, maybe a low resource income, maybe a someone who come from slightly more difficult backgrounds when it comes to resources, when it comes to loss, when it comes to adverse situations, say for example maybe a disaster. So when we describe the journey of social emotional learning, it is important that it starts from here, and it becomes more complex when the adversities come into picture. So now, as we move forward with our session, we will get a deeper understanding of social emotional learning and its relation to adversity. Uh, and then as a system, as who we are today in our roles that we are present for, what is it that we can do with this understanding, with this lens, that what does adversity do and what does that do to social emotional learning, and then why do we need social emotional learning, and what roles do we then have to play as a system, as an individual, as a community, in the roles of being a teacher, mother, father, brother, sister, mentor, coach. Yeah. So, what is it that then we have to engage in is what we will get a glimpse of. Thank you so much for allowing your vulnerabilities to also get surfaced and also very honestly sharing these responses on the chat box. I deeply appreciate your participation and also the trust that you put forward into the space to even share something personal. So thank you so much. Handing it over to you, Avichal.
Uh, Thank you, Tanya. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just a good sound check just to get to know people. Thank you, Tanya, for the interesting reflection that you took us through. I was reflecting back to a teacher of mine in grade 10 and how she helped me around all of those things. And just being there helped me also overcome the fear of English that I always had. So thanks for that. Thanks for a great reflection. So, as Tanya mentioned, let's talk a little bit more about what adversity is. How does it really affect people, affect children, and how can social emotional learning, social emotional skills bring about that lens? Okay, so I'm just sharing my screen. Let me know if it's visible.
It's visible.
Is it?
Avichal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So great. So just sharing a couple of slides around what social emotional learning is, but before that, what child adversity is. Um, we did talk about, Tanya did mention about how child adversity, people coming from a bit of underprivileged backgrounds or lack of resources, that, but also certain other situations, other incidences that happen with children. So something like lack of love and care, if they've seen some level of abuse that is happening, violence around them, coming from tough backgrounds or localities which are prone to violence, they feel rejected, abandoned by elders, by their friends, bullied by them. Certain times, people who are orphaned and left to take care of their own. They come out of extreme poverty, malnutrition, or multiple other instances. All of these situations cause certain adversities among children. They necessarily don't have to be coming from a underprivileged background, uh, but it is more prevalent in children coming from underprivileged background. Doesn't mean that it is only prevalent in them. A lot of times it is seen that children coming from well-to-do backgrounds also are facing certain adversities in life. So there are a list of different adversities that children face through. Stability nature of life, urbanization, migration, leaving your home and moving to a different place altogether, not having long, strong friends, leaving apart your family, your extended family, your grandparents, certain times even your parents move out of place and you are left with some relative to take care of yourself. All of these things give a life which is completely unprepared for a child. They don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how they function. Thus, it's actually certain reports have come up that 75% of the youths entering the workforce are unemployable. They don't know how to work, what is job ready. This was a 2014 report, but I'm sure the latest report would also be slightly better, if not that much. A lot of people end up working in informal sector. There is very less higher education enrollment, and a lot of people dropout post grade 10th. So just this is a huge challenge in the current system that we are present with. India it has the highest population of young people in the world right now. And they are facing so many different challenges that it becomes very, very tough of how to engage with all of that. Now, what does adversity also do? It says that when we look at a general child, it's a general growth path. I think a lot of you are also counselors, so you might be aware of this thing. A general growth chart follows a system, follows a sequence, follows a structure that it goes through. Uh, it's different. So tall children have a growth chart, average child have a growth chart, and short children also have a growth chart, but the growth chart remains the same. The pattern remains the same. But what has been noticed that for disadvantaged children or people coming from these adversities, the growth chart or the growth pattern changes. There is initially growth, then it reduces. And growth being both physical as well as mental. What a child should be understanding and be able to do, say, age 5, they are unable to do it till age 7 or so. If you're supposed to be at a particular height till you are 8 years of age, there is stunting growth that happens, which reduces the overall height of the people. So these are certain reports that also say that India has the largest number of stunted children globally. 59% of the children in India are stunted. That stunted means if you're supposed to be at a particular height according to your growth path at a particular age, you are lower than that height. Your growth is lower than that. Uh, this is what we call as failure to thrive, both in terms of physical as well as mental, emotional. A possibility of engaging with an adult or with children of their own age, it changes how they're doing. So, failure to thrive actually, in the end, also results in a basket of other problems. Poor cognitive skills, unable to process, the memory losses are happening, missed sensitive periods of development, that when I'm supposed to be able to explore different languages, I'm limited because I'm unable to learn so much things. When I'm supposed to be in a particular age group or a class group, I'm struggling with that. I don't know basic arithmetics, basic literacy, numeracy, and all of those challenges. Poor relationship skills, attachment problems. Usually, whenever we go into a new house, go into somebody's house and we are meeting a child for the first time, they tend to be a bit shy. They'll hide behind the curtain, they'll run away while seeing you. That's a normal reaction. That's a regular, normal behavior. To be cautious while approaching somebody is the normal behavior that has been understood. But poor relationship skills in children coming from adverse situations show us that they will immediately go and hug somebody, interact with people, because that is what they are missing in life. What is the care, the love that they want is they're missing in life, so they just immediately go. That doing immediately is not a normal behavior. It requires a few minutes for a child to be comfortable and not be shy. Or holding on to one person and not letting go. Attachment issues. Holding on to things and not being able to let them go. Poor maturity, emotional skills, high anxiety. These are all issues that are associated with failure to thrive, which is to do with how children coming from adverse situation behave with, or this is the impact of adversity on a child that happens. Now, once we understand the whole problem that is coming up, what can be done? Uh, these problems that appear in our day-to-day lives, they appear as the social emotional skills problems or life skills problems. It's how we are unable to engage our social and emotional competency or the brain part, the social emotional part of our brain and engage with people. engage in our day-to-day life, engage in the cognitive skills, the relationship skills that we develop. So children from adversity are a special group. They need these to focus on social emotional skills to overcome the failures of thrive, effects of failure to thrive. That is where we bring in the element of social emotional learning. That is what the idea of social emotional learning is. This has been established by the World Health Organization, WHO, and it has also been established in details by the National Education Policy that was introduced by the Ministry of Education. How or the importance of social emotional skills in an overall development of a child, specifically focusing upon the idea of failure to thrive or coming for people coming from adverse situations. What research shows is that these deficiencies, these adversities, or the impact of these adversities is recoverable. It's like a muscle. When there is a fracture, if you tend to the fracture, it heals over time. Similarly, when you tend to a person's emotional and social needs, they are able to recover. They are able to overcome all of this. Uh, Now, how do they help? Research and impact. We've been doing this for a long time. A lot of research over a period of different spaces has been done to actually see how it helps. It helps the social emotional skills once the children have been able to develop these skills, they're able to take initiative more. They're able to solve problems, overcome difficulties on their own. They coming from a situation, okay, let me find out what the problem is, let me look for a solution and then overcome all of those things. They're able to engage, manage conflict if there is a fight, not just getting violent and beating people up, but also able to negotiate and rationalize with their peers and able to manage conflict. Interact with each other in a more constructive, holistic way, not just coming from a space of I'm better, you are this, overcome bullying, or even overcoming them bullying other people. Also, understanding instructions. If they are coming, or if an adult is giving them certain instructions, we many times tend to see that they either don't listen or they don't follow. They are unable to understand what the instruction is given, or they just go in a different direction altogether. But overcoming these things that come and thus overcome the effects of adversity. Now, what do we do as adults, as caregivers, as teachers, counselors, principals present in the lives of these children? What can we do? If you look on the image on the right, this image talks about how an adult is needs to be steadfast, needs to be focused on the elements that they're bringing in. If they're able to bring in a level of trust on the children, a respect for them, a level of care, safety, non-judgmental attitude, validating them in the work that they're doing, authenticity, empathy. If they are consistent about all of these things, compassionate about being there for the child, and caring, showing a caring nature, regardless of how the child is operating in different situations. If they maintain all of those things, it has shown that over a period of time, they're those, uh, able to develop those social emotional skills amongst the children. The children might be wavering. They'll show a level of trust one time. They'll go back. They'll move away. They'll come back again. They'll they'll be not empathetic. They'll be violent, but they'll also show that. It just shows the level of consistency adult can show, which brings a child back again and again towards them. A consistent, compassionate, and a caring adult building these qualities within them can help a child grow, help a child thrive and overcome their adversities. Now, I just want you to look back into the reflection that Tanya had taken you through. The small reflection of that person in your life. Try to associate that person and picture them in this structure that we have over here, in this idea in our role. Were they somehow associated with them? Were they depicting or showcasing these qualities while being there for you? Just think about that a minute. See how their behaviors, if we are able to do this, we are able to bring forward a lot of things in our life. There's just a story, like it's a case study that we have from Dream a Dream. There was once a teacher in school um, working in a classroom, and there was one student, young girl, probably about 6, 7 years of age, who used to come back again and again. That's this girl does not have a watch at home, so she doesn't know what time it is. So she doesn't know when is she late and when is she on time. So just that perspective change on looking at, oh, I didn't know that. Why was I always being angry and scolding the child? All I could have done first was inquire. For 3 weeks, I've been trying to be forcing, telling her, why are you late and scolding? All I needed to change was getting more information, getting a different perspective, being more empathetic. And that is what the teacher ended up doing. He understood from then onwards, supporting where the child is coming from, what are the challenges that they're facing, and staying with them. So when we talk about uh, our role as teachers, as adults, if these are things, we just, for the small information session around what social emotional learning is, how does adversity affect child adversity affect, and how do we actually, what can we do as adults? We just really scratch the surface of it, but definitely want to, you people to reflect on one thing, that what are certain qualities in you that you would really want to take forward while you are engaging with students that you work with. What qualities? Just a reflection on yourself. You don't even have to mention it. I definitely want you to reflect upon it. What are those qualities in you that are your strengths, are your strong points that you can take it up to the students that you work with, so that you're able to create that space for them that your students are able to thrive. Just think about them. You can just keep those things in mind and see how you will be able to do it. Because, like I said, we've just scratched the surface. The idea is to go deeper into it. And the deeper comes from a level of self reflection.
Where Tanya took you, right? Like to go back to your childhood, or like, to this person who has played this role of caring and compassionate adult, to now, where we can probably play that role of caring and compassionate adult for the child in the school or for the child outside the school. So as I said earlier, I think these qualities, we call it skills, right? Social emotional skills, but they're already in you. It's something that you carry around. It's not something to learn from a PPT or from a lecture. It is something that we embody, and more we are able to reflect on who we are. Anastasia mentioned it, like to become closer to who we are. Uh, Better we are able to function as whatever role you're playing, as teachers, as principals, as counselors, as anybody who's interacting with the child. I think it's not something that we put on, it's something that we carry around all the time. I do want to take, because we have some time,
Yeah.
maybe for
If there
10
are any
minutes.
questions,
Yes, so I think we can spend 10 minutes in case in this session, if something has come up for you, if you have any doubts, any questions, maybe we can spend 10 minutes for Q&A. You can put the questions on the chat and any of us can take that in. All right, I think I see Paramjit Kaur has asked, how can we incorporate SEL in our day-to-day school curriculum in an interesting manner? Tanya, Avichal, any of you would want to take that?
I'll take that. Thank you, Paramjit Kaur, for asking that question. We need to also understand that social emotional learning, as I said, is a process. It's a journey, and when I say it's a journey, it's not an outcome. It's more like a process that we invest in so that the children around us are able to come closer to themselves. Now, for that to happen, we need to create opportunities. We need to create spaces. And for those spaces, so the how of it is what we already spoke of, right? The 3 C's, your way of being in those spaces, your way of being in that opportunities itself is a one step towards incorporating SEL in our day to day school culture, right? But the second thing is about even when we are starting off our classes, for example, are we taking a moment of a space where children are able to come closer to themselves, or are we just bombarding them with the knowledge or the maybe chapters or the lessons that we do seem to have planned? So I think what is really essential here is that to understand that SEL is a intentional opportunity created by you for the student to come closer to themselves. And when that will happen, they will be able to develop those skills, right? So problem solving skill can never be taught. That, hey, managing conflicts can never be taught. It can always be experienced. So in the way we are being, in the way we are creating those pockets of spaces for those students to experience how it feels the entire journey of SEL, which keeps going and it never stops. I think all of us are also find ourselves at places where we are not able to manage conflicts. All of us also find ourselves at places where we are probably not able to maintain certain relationships or respond effectively to a situation or effectively decide. We all fail also sometimes. Similarly, for the kids, for the children that we are working, it's a journey. So to keep reinforcing that opportunities where they come more closer to themselves, and that will only happen if we are also noticing our way of being in those opportunities, in those spaces.
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. Just to add a little bit to that, because it's an important question, Paranjeet. Like, we do see life skills, and we use social emotional learning and life skills interchangeably. We do see life skills being part of the curriculum in many states. Um, Having those 30-minute classes, and in our experience, yes, it works, but it's something that you can't just teach in 30 minutes. It's not, it's not something separate. It's not something that, okay, one more subject has been added, but it's really about integrating in whatever, even if you're doing science or you're doing maths, you're doing arts, you're doing sports, uh, how you are approaching this whole thing, how your being is there, how your presence shows up. All of that would make a difference in how the child thinks about themselves. So yeah, very, very important question. I think that's the question we would really want. I mean, want to reflect a little bit more. I'll take that one in a while. There's one more question by Anju Arora. How can we take this forward in the entire school ethos? Really beautiful question. Michelle, do you want to take that up?
yeah, I think like we also showed the diagram. It takes a long while. It takes a while to be able. And I guess there was another question around How do we develop our patience level? So I think the idea of take it forward is one, I would say, am I able to do it? Am I building that culture up?
Lost the audio.
Uh, Maybe just yours. Pallavi can hear me.
I can hear.
Okay, that's okay.
We'll come back. Read the lips.
Yeah. So the idea is it needs to start with me. If I am building it, if I am building it, can I really take it forward? It sort of spreads in the way the culture gets spread. How to build it in the school ethos? We start off we start off by showcasing who we are and building those things as a reflection, as an attitude, as a behavior, as a being in ourselves. And then it spreads over a period of time in different spaces. To say that, hey, we're going to get a curriculum and somebody is going to teach us how to do it is I would say an incomplete understanding. Yes, we need to learn it, but we also learn it by experiencing, by doing things again and again. And that's also how it spreads across in different spaces. And it requires that patience. It requires that question that came, how do we build that patience? We build that patience by doing it and by holding on to the intention that we have that this is going to go somewhere. There can be certain challenges, there can be ups and downs. Having that resilience will also help to build up that patience that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. And Anju Arora, just adding one more thing. I mean, it's important that we ask about the whole school ethos, right? Because again, it's not responsibility of an individual. It's not the responsibility of the child alone. How the child would thrive or child becomes successful. It is ultimately the whole school culture which is important. So your question is extremely important, and as Avichal mentioned, maybe it's about that inside out journey, right? How do we show up? How do we do it within ourselves? Would sort of create this ripple effect where it would go to everybody around us. So yeah, I love these questions. Such important questions. Preeti Gupta is asking maybe one or two more questions. I'm going to take this one. Preeti Gupta is asking, dealing with students who are mentally not stable or indulge into something not required. How to deal with them? Tanya, do you need more context? Would you be able to take this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just reading that again to get things, right? So how do I show up in that situation for that particular child is a part of social emotional intelligence. So if I am probably operating from the space of just irritation, so am I noticing my irritation inside of me? Am I communicating that irritation to the other child? Yeah. Am I communicating that disappointment? So if I am doing all of that, it's probably reinforcing the adversity that the child may already be in. So I think noticing my way of being is the first step. Second step is at least not perpetuating the distress through my reactions or through my responses. So taking really that pause to respond, and witnessing the journey with them. I think just maybe deeply understanding what does this child need, what is the underlying need behind the behavior, or what is the underlying strength that this child demonstrate, and then investing in strengthening that a little more might help you navigate through children who are struggling emotionally, cognitively, might help.
Hello,
Yes,
can I
Nitima.
pitch it, please? Can I
Yes,
pitch it,
Nitima.
please? The
Of course.
best thing is I have so many questions that I see on the
Yes.
chat. I think it would take another half an hour to really try to take up all these questions. But one or two of the questions that were very interesting were, one was, I think it makes sense also. Could you share examples of simple daily routines or classroom activities that naturally incorporate SEL? And I think similar one is the other, which says, what are the core SEL competencies we should prioritize in early grades versus the higher grades? So I think this would sum up a lot of the queries here also if we just answer this question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tanya, while you answer, just saying that you're right, ma'am. I think it'll be difficult for us to do that, but these certain activities, I think I can share a link of a curriculum which is available freely. I mean, it's an open source curriculum that we have developed, and it is all experiential. It is all about activities, and it is grade wise. It is based on the national education policy, something that you can refer. But again, would really invite you to think about your school context, regional context, because yeah, I mean, you know the best what would really work for this child. So I will share that in the chat. But Tanya, go ahead. Tanya or Ravichan.
Yeah. So this is a small example, an incident I may want to use. I think uh, so. We were running a football program, right? So in a setting where we were running a football program, and there was this one particular child who would react and respond in a way which was highly challenging and also brought in violence into the space. So he would go around, hit the other child, go around, hit the other child. It was slightly making the football team to be able to effectively function and practice and perform. So now, when that was happening, the coach of that particular team who was coaching this particular football team was cognizant of the background that this child comes from. And the other people around, the adults in that team, was saying, let's throw this child out. Yeah, it's difficult. Let's have them go somewhere else, maybe not be a part of this football team, might help run the football team effectively function. But when that happens, the coach was very mindful of, one, the background that this child comes from, and also noticing that there's a reason because of which this child is being the way he is. And then, but that doesn't mean that you let go of the situation. So what this coach did in that particular moment said that, we appreciate the strengths that you have and what you bring into the team, but this behavior is also kind of unacceptable, right? It's not fair for the other children to witness their friends getting beaten up, and for the student who's getting beaten up to be beaten up in that situation. This coach really invited this particular child who was struggling and said that, I'm going to give you a ball for 20 times, and you need to hit each ball into the court. And you really need to hit it. And if you don't do it, then we'll move on to 1. So the number will move on to 1. So every time the coach would throw the ball, the child would send the ball to goalpost. So that was the exercise that he did every morning, investing 1 hour, 2 hours. And this behavior kind of reduced. So what I'm also trying to bring in here, that just this extra effort of working with this particular child led to this child navigate his anger. So this child was struggling with a lot of anger issues. He would just go around, burst people out. Yeah, wasn't fair for the other children to witness and get beaten up, of course, by this other peer mate. So navigating that is just one small example of how social emotional intelligence kind of comes into picture, and not seeing this as a punishment, but an opportunity to navigate his anger, for example. So we just have to change our lens with which we see.
This session would be available, and the links are being shared again and again. I have also shared it twice. Please subscribe to the channel, or just go through the channel whenever you're free, and in 24 hours you will get this link. Okay, so, and all those who are asking me for PPTs and for recordings and all, please, I hope I have answered that question for everyone now. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think we are around,
Maybe just in one word or one phrase, to really think about what are we taking away from here, and taking away from here into the school culture. What is that one thing that we're taking away from this session that probably we would want to integrate in the school culture moving forward? So you can share the responses in the chat. And I hope there's more than one, but for now, maybe we'll keep the responses short. Anything that has worked for you, anything that has come to you.
Somebody said patience. I
Yeah,
saw enriching and enlightening. I think Valur wanted
being
to put in.
empathetic.
Being consistent in our efforts with the children, being empathetic, don't be judgmental. A lot of responses good. We have wonderful participants today. One step forward to better recognize of SC situation of students, empathize with the students with professional touch, Sangeeta says. Then Sangeeta, another Sangeeta converse, taking this forward, how to convince the parents and the
Connection over
government.
correction. Love that. Connection over correction. That's so
Yes.
beautiful.
And LSA, Sumona says SEL is a skill which needs to be practiced in our daily life. Definitely. We all should. We all need it. It's not the educators, teachers, but I think we all need it in some form or the other. Reflection, Swati says, more compassionate. Anju Arora. Then we have empathy. Then Anila. I think we have hordes and hordes of
I would love to have this
responses.
chat and save this chat because your responses are so beautiful. Thank you again, everybody. Thank you, Neeti ma'am,
Thank
Irene, and the
you.
entire CBSE team, and all the educators, principals, counselors, and everybody who has come today. Unconditional positive regard, absolutely. I think
Thank you.
that's the word that
And
I would
I
probably
would
want to leave with.
Fine, thank you. And I
Yes,
would
ma'am.
now want Mr. Devendra, please can you just have a vote of thanks? And I would love to have your inputs into it when you are delivering your vote of thanks. Over to you, Devendra ji.
जी नमस्कार मैम। इस वेबिनार में
Namaskar.
शामिल इस वेबिनार में शामिल सभी सम्मानित अधिकारियों, विशेष विशेषज्ञों और प्रतिभागियों का हार्दिक अभिनंदन। जैसा कि आप जानते हैं, सीबीएसई द्वारा छात्रों की मनोसामाजिक स्वच्छता पर अप्रैल में 5 वेबिनार आयोजित किए जा रहे हैं और यह इस श्रृंखला का तृतीय वेबिनार है। आज के इस महत्वपूर्ण वेबिनार में शामिल सभी गणमान्य विशेषज्ञों और प्रतिभागियों का धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं। ये वेबिनार माननीय सचिव सीबीएसई श्री हिमांशु गुप्ता जी के नेतृत्व में आयोजित हो रहे हैं। छात्रों और विद्यालयों के लिए आयोजित इन महत्वपूर्ण वेबिनारों हेतु हमारा मार्गदर्शन करने के लिए सर का हार्दिक आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। यह एक विशेष अवसर है जब सामाजिक भावनात्मक शिक्षा को स्कूल की संस्कृति में कैसे एकीकृत करें, कैसे शामिल करें, इस बारे में बात करने के लिए, अपने विचार रखने के लिए, स्थितियों से निपटने में इसकी भूमिका पर प्रकाश डाला और रोजमर्रा की स्कूल संस्कृति में एसईएल को कैसे एकीकृत करें, इनकी रणनीतियों पर सरल ढंग से और विस्तार से व्यवहारिक सुझाव दिए और हमें अंतर्दृष्टियां प्रदान की हैं। इसके लिए आप सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। उन्होंने प्रश्न उत्तर के माध्यम से भी छात्रों की, अभिभावकों की विभिन्न जिज्ञासाओं का समाधान किया, पहलुओं को सुलझाया और अवधारणा जो एसईएल से जुड़ी जो मनोसामाजिक समस्याएं हैं, उनसे जुड़ी जो अवधारणाएं हैं, उनके बारे में जागरूक किया। आप सबका विशेष बात व आभार। निश्चय ये जानकारी और अनुभव सभी विद्यालयों के लिए लाभकारी सिद्ध होगी। देश के विभिन्न हिस्सों से शामिल सम्मानित प्रधानाचार्यों, शिक्षकों, परामर्शदाताओं, अभिभावकों और छात्रों का भी दिल से धन्यवाद, जो अपने अपने विद्यालयों में छात्रों की स्वच्छता और चहुमुखी विकास के लिए निरंतर बखूबी कार्य कर रहे हैं और इस वेबिनार में शामिल होकर इसे सफल बनाया है। मैं अंत में श्रीमती नीति शंकर शर्मा, उप सचिव महोदय और टीम का भी बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ, जिन्होंने इस वेबिनार की कार्य योजना बनाई और जिनकी देखरेख में वेबिनार सफलतापूर्वक आयोजित हो रहा है। खास तौर पर श्रीमती सुदेश बिलिया मैडम, उप सचिव महोदय का शुक्रिया, जिन्होंने कार्यक्रम का तकनीकी पक्ष संभाला और कार्यक्रम निर्बाध ढंग से संचालित हुआ। सुश्री आयरिन खोसला, नेहा और अन्य साथियों द्वारा कार्यक्रम के लिए की गई मेहनत और सहयोग के लिए भी उनका धन्यवाद। आशा है यह कार्यक्रम आप सबके लिए उपयोगी रहा। आइए मिलकर छात्र स्वस्थता और कल्याण की ओर मिलकर कार्य करें। आप सभी का पुनः बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।